Hello, welcome to Tony's Bonsai. I'm really excited today to be sorting out the roots on this, my oldest bonsai. I'm pretty sure I told this story in the past, but around 31 years ago, I collected this tree as maybe a 4 or 5 year old sapling. I grew it for 25 years. This was the main structure of the tree. And then probably about 8 or 9 years ago, it just started dying. It started going out of sync with the seasons. You can see the remnants of the stump where I cut this trunk off when it had died. Obviously, I presumed it was dead and I just left it in this pot. And then slowly over the following years, all these shoots started appearing and I've started to train them as a clump style bonsai. I've always planned on doing something with this stump, and after many years, the bark's finally crumbling away like this, and I'll be able to reveal the wood on the inside, which I want to keep just as a memento, really. Well, that's enough history. Time to get working on this, and this has not been repotted for 15 years. When I moved into this house, I think 2008, I found this pot in the garden. I transferred the oak into it, and it's been in here ever since. It weighs an absolute ton. The pot is falling to bits, and it's just coming away in my hands. So it's time to take a look and see what the roots look like in here. You can see how easily this thing's just dropping apart. It's completely perished. Now, I've no idea what will be under here. I used to always put rocks under stuff, so I'm thinking there might be some rocks down here. Interesting. Now we have got a small gap here. Oh yeah, look, here are the rocks. This gravel on the top is only for show. This tree's planted in probably some type of soil or compost. I suspect mainly garden soil, really. Maybe I added a bit of something, but maybe even a bit of grit. Now I know last year people were getting into this top-down repotting, and I did consider that for this, but in the end I thought, you know, I'm best to just get it out of this pot, take a look and see what I can do. And I might end up soaking this in water to try to kind of release it. We'll just have to wait and see. For a job like this, really, you've got to get stuck in with a root hook. I'll be there all year using a chopstick, so I should be able to, because it's all in one big lump, I should be able to just turn this over like that, and look how thick these roots are down here. But I want to get these stones out of the bottom. This is part of the reason it weighed so much. I mean, look at that. I've seen roots over rock on smaller rocks. And this is probably why the tree died initially. The main tree died off. I think it was just, I didn't look after it properly. It was just out here. I was on with other things, and it was just left to fend for itself, really. So I'm sure it got very, very dry in the summer. Obviously, some of these lower roots, these are not going to be needed. So I can start cutting these off as I go. I'm just going to work my way down, well, work my way up the tree, really, just exposing all these roots, and look how many of them there are. I reckon under there's going to be some really thick stuff. I enjoy this kind of root exploration, seeing what I've got going on under here. And the further I go up, I think the more interesting it's going to get. And all I'm doing is just keep rotating it round like this and just knocking off all this old soil. So this is now getting down to a bit more of a reasonable size, and so far I'm really happy about the roots that I've found, how relatively fine they appear to be. I was thinking there might be some really big, thick, awkward roots that I'd have to do some major cuts on, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Not so far anyway, which is great. Now, I've got to go a little more carefully around here in case I expose any roots that possibly could be used in the composition. So I switched from root hook to chopstick, fairly round-ended one. And the idea now is to just be a lot more gentle and try to find out what's going on in terms of surface roots, nabari, and it'd be great if I had some good surface roots. I've got no idea. If we've got a really good radial spread of roots, that'd really lift this tree, make it a lot more impressive. I've got a fair way down there. We've not hit anything major. There's lots of fine roots, so this is really promising. There's one here, so we've hit our first. That feels like a bit of a thick root. I mean, it's still not particularly thick. It's only maybe 3 mil. I was expecting to run into some absolutely monster roots. But I'll definitely take my time with this process. And I'll keep switching between root hook to get these edges back. Oh, look at that there. See, that's the kind of root I was expecting. There. Yeah, and that one looks like it's circled right around the edge of the pot. But if it's in that position there, that's not too bad. I can handle that. I'm beginning to struggle a bit with this, so I think now is the time to give it a bit of water. So instead of just going mad at this and keep hacking away, there's some big circling roots. It's better, I think, for me to just wash it like this. Just try and blast this soil off. I am having some success with that technique, but these matted roots at the edge, they just won't, the water won't seem to penetrate. So I think I need to somehow work through these matted ones at the edge to allow me to get the water in there. So once I've done that, let's see. Yeah, that's better. So I think it's going to be a combination of using the root hook like this and spraying with water. That's a good bit of the soil off now. I think I might be at the stage where I need to start looking at possibly removing some of these circular roots that are wrapping around the pot. They've got to go at some point, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get in and sort of free up the rest of the roots while we've got huge ones like this circling around the pot. It does seem quite brutal, and I'm kind of doing it blind really, because I don't know what these are attached to. There. Oh, that was not too bad. There was not much on it really. I think that was kind of like the taproot, or a secondary taproot, because obviously the initial one will have been long gone. When I potted this 15 years ago, I'm sure that I'll have taken off the taproot. So with those gone, oh yeah, that just allows me a bit more access. See, I've got a really thick root in here. This is the kind of thick root I was anticipating finding, and this is coming out from the base. That's lovely. I can go back in and cut that in a downward orientation to allow new roots to emerge from the end of it going down. So I think that was the biggie, which is super. We've got other encircling roots like this one though, so there's going to be more cuts that need making. You know, I was always going to have to fairly significantly reduce this root ball. You see, look at these are all just big thick circling roots. They've got to go. I've hit so, oh look, there's another one there. That's quite a big thick root, and this is coming down from under here again, so it's coming out from the tree down, it's hit the edge of the pot and it's gone off. So again, at that point I'll cut it, in a nice downward pointing orientation like that, and see if I can pull this out again. That last one pulled out really nicely. Let's just see. No, I'll have to go back to that and get that later when I've freed up some more of the soil. So kind of my job now is to move around the pot and kind of chase this root back. So I know it's in here. Where is it? There. I know it's here. And it could have fused to something else back there. It's quite possible. See that come out then? That's what I want. Lovely. So you can see how heavy and clayey this soil is. But it's done all right. This tree didn't have the healthiest year last year. The previous year it grew like absolute crazy. It really, really had a strong year. And then last year not quite so much, which is fine, because you know I didn't want it going mad every year, because it gets too hard. It gets too hard to control the growth. Sometimes you want them to just have a bit of a quieter year. I've got to the bottom here where we've got this big kind of knuckle of root, and that definitely has to be removed. There's usually one of these sitting somewhere low down. There it is. There's not much root on it, it's just a big mass, and that frees all this bottom section up quite a lot actually. Lovely. Getting there now with this. A lot of the big roots are gone. I'm working my way down into the mass. I'm absolutely filthy. I'm covered in soil. It's quite a messy job, this. We've got another major big gnarly root there. You tell I've been listening to Dan Robinson talk when I start using the word gnarly. There. I mean, that's a real beast of a root. And I think that was the one that all those... Yeah, it was. that was the root that that knuckle I just cut off came from. That's why it's so big. So that has to go as well. Should be able to cut it with these if I do it in two. There. So I'm expecting a fair bit to come off with this now, a fair bit of root. Come on. Ah, not really. There was almost nothing on it. Oh, I'm glad I got rid of that then. You've got to be bold with this, but fortunately, as you can see, I've got loads and loads of nice fine roots. So I'm not really concerned about the health of the tree. If you compare this tree to, you know, a Yamadori that you dig out of the ground, you get nothing like this quality of root to work with. So this should have no problems. Although I will have to obviously be careful with it now. Certainly for the next 12 months, it'll need, you know, treating like I would treat a collected tree. So no major work up top. You know, put in the shade, nice watering. If I put this side on here, basically everything below the root plane, which is sort of there, has to be cut off. I would normally do this with secateurs, but I can't find them. Okay, as I sit this down now, there appears to be one major lump there. So I definitely want to reduce that. Now I don't see this going in like a crazy shallow pot, but I want the options of putting it in, you know, a decent bonsai pot in the future. And now's the time to do it. I wouldn't want to do this in phases. You know, I don't want to come back in sort of 4 years' time and say, oh, I need to get that root base lower. I get it down now, I let it recover, and that's kind of job done. I'm happy with the reduction of that root ball now. I think that works really well. And what I need to do in the next phase now is just check the actual roots that are coming out, that they're going in the right positions. For example, this one here, if this can just be tweaked over in that direction like that. There, that's nicer. These are all looking good. These are all excellent. It's just around this side here. We've got this one awful root. Well, we've got one there as well. See, this one crosses, but I think I can just pull that one down. This one here looks like I've taken the bark off it, so that probably will die anyway, so I may as well get rid of that. But it's this one here. You can see how bad it is. It's just coming right across everything. Doesn't look good. And I'm not sure where it's attached. I think it's just attached there. Even if, yeah, it was just coming from there, so that's great. That instantly cleans this section up very nicely. We've got a very thick root coming down. This is nice. There's not too much else happening over here, but it does flare out well at this point. And we've got some nice lower roots. Just one coming upwards. So I think there's potential here with this tree to sort of really show this nebari off, and it's going to make it into a much better tree. So I'm dead happy about that. This was such a long video, my batteries ran out on my microphone, but it's only the end of the video now, and you can see all I'm doing here is just taking my scissors and just pruning the edges of the roots just so it fits nicely in this pot. I found it quite nostalgic looking back at this footage as I was editing the video, and remind me of my mum cutting my hair when I was a lad. I do quite actually enjoy this part of the process, just going round and trimming the edges just to make it fit in nicely. And the roots of this tree, they just worked out really well. I'm really pleased, and I'm very confident that this is going to do well as well. Here I just trim off a few off the bottom just to give me that nice flat root base, and as you can see from here, I'm really happy with how compact I've managed to get that root base at the bottom. That'll fit in a nice fairly shallow pot in the future and look good. There's not much of a repotting on this video. I use my usual soil mix, put the tree in, pour a bit of, well, settle it nicely into the soil there, and then pour my normal potting mix on top. Can't believe I need to put another order in for some more perlite. Crazy. I've been going through so much of it this year. It's just really good stuff though. I like it. It makes the soil so light and airy. Here's the mandatory chopsticking scene where I'm just working that soil down into the roots. And then a bit of water. You'll notice I didn't tie this tree in. There were so many roots and it was set in so well that it just wasn't necessary. As always, thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.